Hi, I'm Scott Humphrey, CEO of the World Floor Covering Association. Thank you for joining us today as we do something a little bit different. Today's conference is really going to be focused not so much on the coronavirus, where we spent many of the last 10 weeks, or on legislation related to the coronavirus, but really on helping you be better in your business. Our membership has grown dramatically over the last 3-4 months. And we want to make sure we're doing all we can to help those members be impacted by our purpose statement. Our purpose statement says that we exist to ensure the success and profitability of professional flooring dealers and to represent their common interest. So what we're doing with you today will be a little different. It's almost like a pilot for us. This is our opportunity to try something else to better meet your needs, to help you to be, exactly as our purpose statement says, successful and profitable. And we're bringing in Steve Hillis. I'll tell you a little bit more about Steve in just a moment. But Steve is with us because we trust him. We know him. We've utilized him before. He's well known in the industry. And we thought no better way to kick this off and to see if this platform will work than to bring in somebody that we've already utilized ourselves. Let me update you a little bit on the WFCA. I'll remind you that the WFCA.org website has got all the latest and greatest information about anything related to the coronavirus. In fact, as you go onto our website, there will be a resource page. Click on that tab, and everything we have from our legal counsel, Jeff King, where he has interpreted the legislation that's come out of DC, directly from Lobby It, from our insurance partners, everything that we have that will simplify your life and help you not only survive during this time, but also thrive as we kick things back off and things begin to open up in different states differently, but all different localities, municipalities. We want to make sure you've got everything you need. And so we are there prepared. I will tell you that last night, a vote was taken late by the Senate that made some changes. Now, there are a couple of things. There's a reason we haven't sent out an update to that. There are some senators that have one understanding of what was voted on, and some had another. We're trying to get that all paired out before we send a communication to you. But what we do know is this, that the 8 weeks that you used to have to use your PPP loans was voted to go to 24 weeks, exactly as the House of Representatives has sent it to the Senate. And the 75% you had to use on employees and 25% on your business is now 60-40. And so those are positive. If you're one of the people who has utilized the PPP loans, that's a positive change for you. Hopefully that you can utilize that even better, even though for many of you, your time may have run out on that already. But as these changes occur, we're doing all we can to make sure that we keep you updated. So with that in mind, if you've got questions, certainly come to us, but use the resources at WFCA.org. Today we have Steve Hillis. He's the CEO of Empower Partners, and he'll be speaking with us on the topic of how to be more productive from your home office. Most of you probably are still working from a home office. In fact, we believe that there's been a dramatic paradigm shift in the way that people work, and many will just not go back to an office, or they'll go back less. Where they used to be working 5 days a week in the office, it may now be 4 or 3, and they may split their time because they found out that they are able to do much of what they do from home. Steve is well known in the industry with an extensive flooring covering background that includes stints at several major flooring manufacturers, including BOU, Milliken, Tandis, and Mohawk, where he served as Senior VP of Sales and Marketing for the Durkin Hospitality business. He is a frequent keynote speaker at NeoCon, the Georgia Manufacturers Association, and many other events throughout the flooring industry. And I've already noted to you that we utilized Steve actually last year in San Antonio when we did one of our regional training events. He's also a very active participant in the Floor Covering Education Foundation, the new foundation that was put together to help focus on the lack of skilled labor in the flooring industry. His company, Empower Partners, specializes in helping their clients achieve growth and profit goals. So you see how that lines up directly with our purpose statement. They provide consulting, training, coaching, and even some recruitment. Their goal is to help companies improve their sales force effectiveness. And Steve, I will say, has surrounded himself with some of the most experienced and knowledgeable professionals in the flooring industry. So as you have questions today, as he's going through his presentation, just use the chat box at the bottom of your screen. I'll field those questions, throw them back to Steve at the end. And then at the end, we'll give you some contact information about how you can reach out to Steve if you have further questions or would like to utilize his services. So Steve, with that said, welcome. Thanks for being our guinea pig on this, and I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Thanks, Scott. and great to be with you. Thanks to everyone that's attended today. Let's see, we'll get our screen going here. And let's see, Lewis. I need to be able to start the presentation.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. We're rolling. So as Scott mentioned, certainly we're in unprecedented times in our industry, and a lot of uncertainty out there. It's going to be interesting to see how how things unfold, but I guess it's exciting to see already just in the last couple of months how business is starting to come back. But I think Scott's comment about the idea that even in the future, as things do get back to normal, more and more people will be working from home, and we think that this has been the catalyst that has really helped drive a lot of that. So let's jump in. One of the things that we found is we've surveyed different companies that are working remotely, and these are just some average statistics. We're finding that most people are spending 28% of their time daily on email, and some of that's productive, much of that's not. We'll talk about that in a minute. Web surfing and social media has become a big part of our daily routine as we work from home. One of the things that has become a real challenge as we all try to work from our home environment is how we deal with the distractions. And we're finding anywhere from 50 to as much as 80% of our time could be distracted. And what we mean by that is moved away from the priority things that we should be doing business. Dealing with distractions is a very important issue that we have to deal with. The other thing is our lack of personal contact. We're sheltered at home. We're traveling very little. That's starting to open up some, but just that lack of interaction with our coworkers, certainly with our customers, is a big challenge. And so we're going to talk about how we deal with that and share with you some ideas today that may help you. So in general, communication challenges, since we can't be face-to-face meeting with customers, how do we make those connections? What's the right kind of communication we'll address today. We feel that during this sheltered at home environment, that it's not the right time to be closing. Certainly we have to keep our business going. It may be a good time to be doing some prospecting, and we think relationship building is the key word there. It's a great time to be showing your customers that you care about them, to touch base. It's a great time to communicate with maybe customers that you haven't talked to in a while. Customers that bought from you 2 years ago or 10 years ago, and going back to doing some of that, still we call prospecting, but it's staying in touch with your past customers. So how you communicate and how you plan for that is very important. Fear of the unknown is probably one of the biggest challenges we have during this coronavirus situation. And I love that acronym FEAR, which we say is false evidence appearing real. Most of the time, most of what we're dealing with around fear is something that we've either created in our own mind or some notion or idea that we've bought into that we can overcome, or it really is an unfounded concern or fear. But when we do have unknown factors, those are things that naturally happen. And what we're going to talk about today is how to develop discipline and structure. When you really look at how to be productive working from home, I think this one is really the bottom line of everything, because we don't have the structure of our regular office. We don't have our discipline or routine of I go to work at 8 and I leave at 5, or whatever your routine might be. Yeah, we're at home with our family and our spouse and our children and our dogs and all the other distractions that can happen. So we believe that you need to have the mindset that working from home is more challenging. It's harder. It's harder work than working from the office. And I think where I see people that get off track with being productive is many times they've just allowed themselves to fall into that trap of feeling, well, I'm at home, so I'll stay in my pajamas, or I'll be more relaxed, or I'll do some chores, and then I'll get some emails done, and I'll call that work. So it really does take a lot more discipline, and you've got to have the right mindset around that. So we're gonna give you some ideas around that today. And then procrastination is so easy when we're working from home. How many of us, if you're doing a Zoom call, you're sitting there in a nice button-down shirt, but you've got your bathing suit on, or your pajamas still on. And hopefully this picture on the right is not how you look on Friday afternoon after you've been through a week and you've been busy, just staying busy. But have you really gotten anything done that was a priority list of your business and tied to your goals? So we want to try to avoid this creative avoidance and really be efficient. Another thing we're going to talk about today is how to be better organized. We don't want to be like the girl here on the screen that's got sticky notes everywhere, and you've got just helter-skelter system of how we keep track. So I think being on schedule and having a very good system for planning your day and your meetings and your phone calls and your prospecting is more important than ever. So we'll touch on that today. So here are the key things that we're gonna cover: creating a productive work environment. We're going to talk about time and self-management strategies. Again, that discipline that I mentioned earlier. We will address technology and maybe give you some ideas around how to make that as good as you can make it working from home. It's very important that we engage the technology today. And then developing disciplined work habits. It's not just doing it once or twice. It's what do we do every day in our work day to see that we're productive. And having the right mindset. We'll touch on that today. I think that's a critical part of really being productive is having a positive outlook and really keeping yourself on schedule. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the big one is avoiding procrastination. How do we stay focused on the priority things, the most important things that I need to do today, and not just get caught up into email and social media and feel like I was busy, so I had a good day. It's really focused on the right things. So I want to share with you just a fun little story about, actually a true story, is out in the western part of the country, out in Wyoming, Montana, out in the Great Plains. This is a true fact that when a storm rolls in across the plains, cows run away from the storm, while buffaloes actually charge into the storm, and they, of course, get through the storm much quicker. And it's interesting to see that if you're ever out in that area. Want to share with you a quote that kind of came into this tagline of or mantra of "Be the Buffalo." This was by Wilma Mankiller. Don't you love that name? Wilma was the first female chief of the Cherokee Nation, and here was her quote: "Whenever I'm confronted with a tough challenge, I do not prolong the torment. I become the buffalo." And what she meant by that is you don't put off the problems. You address it head on. You run into it, and that can be a neat concept to adapt in business. You know, whether you're a salesperson, whether you're a business owner, project manager, installer, we're all going to encounter storms and problems as we go through this coronavirus situation, and we're all forced to stay home and can't call on our customers. Having the right attitude and being proactive about addressing that and really taking control of your schedule and your daily activity is what we want to talk about. So when we think about that and we start our day, and I mentioned earlier about the kind of mindset we really have to decide each and every day how we're going to approach it. You know, we can use this coronavirus situation as an excuse and a distraction to not do prospecting, to not work on improving our skills or our product knowledge, not working on our goals, and we can just become paralyzed and worry. You know, we can just stay at home and go with the flow. And you know, if our boss has a Zoom call once a day, we check in with that and we think that we're done. Or we can ignore the constant distractions and really use this time to push forward and do things that in the past, when we're really busy and calling on our customers, we don't have time to do. And that might be prospecting to people that you've not connected with in the past. I mentioned earlier, connecting with your past customers can be a great thing to do during this time that could translate to future business later on this year. And those can be differentiators for you going forward and help you get into the habit of doing some things that maybe you've ignored in the past. So you know, that mantra, be the buffalo, really if you can think about it as, I will not procrastinate. I will not put it off. When problems arise, I'm going to take them head on and charge into the storm. You know, there's two types of people in the world, we think. You know, there's basically those that find excuses and they stay in their comfort zone. And then there's those that find a way to take action. And that's another part of making that choice daily. You see the lady on the left is looks like she's just given up. You know, she's had her cup of coffee. She's been on Facebook and LinkedIn and email for 3 hours, and she's just frustrated because she's out of her routine. She can't get out and see her customers. She's just kind of stuck in this virtual world. And then there's those that take action, you know, that they've gotten up early, they've prepared, they've got their prospecting list handy, their follow up with customers, they're touching base with their customers. So we want to be the one on the right that's finding a way to take action and make it a productive day every day. So when we think about our mindset, I want to just share with you, you know, some things that are kind of the do's and don'ts, if you will, or the options of how you can approach it when you're thinking about the coronavirus. You know, you could say, I feel anxious to get in public, and so you just stay put and you don't do anything. Or you could say, I'll be cautious and careful when I'm around others and take action. I'm amazed. I live in the Atlanta area, and I had my first customer face-to-face visit 2 weeks ago, and then had some more this last week. And I mean, it's amazing how fast Georgia has opened up, and the traffic almost looks like it's back to normal already. So, but it's good to see, you know, how courteous people have become, whether you're in a store or whether you're pumping gas or whatever. And I think this cautious optimism is a good approach for people to take. You know, you could say I'm nervous and I'm going to get sick, or you could say I'm optimistic and I'm going to stay healthy. You know, and you eat better and you get better sleep and actually take care of yourself better than maybe before. You could be frightened of the unknown, or you can say I'm curious and positive about what the future holds. We believe that, and I think Scott touched on this at the beginning of the call, that there's going to be a pent-up demand. You know, we were in one of the strongest economies, as you know, prior to this that we'd ever seen. Flooring industry was in a very good place, and we still have a strong economy that's just ready to get back to work. I had a call just last Thursday, with one of the largest private equity companies in industry, and they were sharing with me, you know, they have over $3 billion of what they call dry powder, you know, money to invest. And the building products industry, the flooring industry in particular, is right in their bullseye, you know, and they're, as this thing unfolds and gets back to business, I think you're going to see low interest rates. We think we're going to see employment pick back up quickly. And we're pretty excited about what the future holds. Okay, so as we think about how we get our mind right and how we have that positive mindset, I want to encourage you to do a couple of things. And one is, I'm going to share with you just some ideas. When we're going through our coaching program, we take people through 2 sessions on this, but I'm going to give you some bullet points that you could start this weekend, and I think will really help you. And that is, start with your goals. Most people, as we start working with them, we find have some ideas or some goals in their mind, but very rarely do they write them down. Some people will say they even write down their goals, but then when we ask, well, how often do you review them? It might be once a year. It might be once a quarter. What we encourage you to do, this is the Empower goal setting process, is to start this weekend with taking some time and list out what your goals over the next year would be. We recommend identifying 5 personal goals and 5 business goals, and make those your priority goals. Then find a picture that represents each goal. Our mind remembers pictures 5 times better than letters and numbers, so that's part of this process that really helps you. And then think about 1 or 2 word purpose behind the goal, and write that 1 word across your picture, and then glue that to a board we call a vision board, and then review that twice a day. Once in the morning before 8 o'clock, and then once at night right before you go to bed. If you will do that, I can assure you it'll be a game changer in terms of accomplishing your goals. And those 3 things together, having the picture, having your purpose identified, and then reviewing it twice a day, are really the keys to that. Here's an example. This is one of our clients in Atlanta, their vision board, and you can see how it's a collage of personal and business. We think that's important, and keep you focused on that balance of personal life and business life. And if you're really focused on that, then that's one way to start your day and really get in gear on working on your business, and know that you're doing this for a reason. And it really can become a self-motivating factor. Okay, let's talk about communication. We said that's one of the biggest challenges we have in trying to be productive during this coronavirus season. And having good communication skills is something that we certainly can work on during this time. I know I've learned a lot about communicating through technology, using calls and go-to-meeting calls, and ways to interact and do that. So if it's, if you're an owner or manager to your employees, think about setting up regular communication on an individual basis and as a group is what I'd recommend. Again, Zoom or GoToMeeting, there's so many, Skype, so many formats that are available now. Find one that works for you, and that's a way that you can really stay engaged with your team. If you're an employee, encourage your boss and ask for a regular checkup meeting to where you can, at least once a week, it could be a 10-minute Zoom call that you schedule. So it doesn't have to take a whole lot of time. Another thing in the way of communicating that's helpful is schedule with your coworkers, other people that are on your team. Some people are setting up virtual coffee breaks or lunches. A lot of companies are having a Friday afternoon happy hour virtually. But be creative and think about ways that we can communicate to stay in touch, to encourage each other, to share ideas. And it can not only be a lot of fun, but it really can help you be more productive. Hold each other accountable in these calls is another way you can do that. So I think over communication is not an issue during this time. I think we need to really stay engaged, and then checking in with older customers, past customers. We mentioned that earlier. I really think this is a great opportunity to do that, and you'll find that those customers have more time also to spend with you, versus when they're busy and their business is booming, that they don't have the time to really talk about relationships and maybe your past business. Checking in with a customer on an installation you did 3 years ago and just asking them how the flooring's doing. Are you having any problems? And just showing them that you really care. That's service after the sale that can go a long way to gaining repeat business. So as we communicate during this time, another thing I want to caution you on, especially if you're on the sales end of things, is to not overdo it. Don't get pushy. This is a time again where there's a lot of uncertainty. A lot of your customers are worried about making payroll in the next 30, 60 days. They're trying to still figure out the PPP programs. And so there's a lot of financial stress right now in the industry with your customers. So you want to be real diplomatic. You want to be real smart about what you are communicating. If you had a proposal that was hanging out there, this isn't the time to be going through, 3 ways to overcome objections and close the deal. This is a time to show your customer that you're there, you're available, you care about them, see how they're doing. It's a relationship building season that we're in. So think about it that way. It's not a time to just be trying to communicate and say, don't forget about me. It's just a time to show that you really care. Show empathy for their situation, find out how they're doing, ask questions about how them and their family are doing. It's a time you can learn more about their family, which can be very important. And then if you do have some examples or information around SBA, I think it's great that WFCA is communicating these kind of updates. I mean, the update Scott shared right at the beginning of the call. I mean, I was glad to hear that because I'm myself trying to keep up with it, and it can be mind-boggling to try to stay on the internet and figure out what is the latest update on this. So those are important ways to build strong customers for life. And then offer free services. I mean, I mentioned to you, we're doing these kind of webinars for our clients, for the industry, because if there's a way that we can help right now, we want to do our part. And hopefully you'll take that same approach with your clients. So share with you some other things too, some best practices, some ideas that every one of these we do. And I think this is our 10th or 11th webinar in the last 2 weeks like this. And every one we tweak a little bit. We get ideas from customers. This is actually a StarNet dealer up in the Northeast, and was talking about meditation and how that has really helped them. This is Jay Allen, who's the owner of JDS Flooring up in New Hampshire. And his quote was that meditation has been a life changer for me. And anyone that knew me 10 years ago would attest to that. I mean, it has really changed how he deals with people, how he deals with stress and problems. But during this time too, where it is stress and uncertainty that we're all dealing with, this can be a great way to deal with that. Many of you know Lou Migliori with LGM, who's been certainly an industry veteran, and most of us that have been around a while have worked with Lou. But he said to come home at the end of the day and find a quiet spot to clear your mind and to meditate is something that he looks forward to every day. And I love this quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson: "What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us." So think about spending some time as you get ready for your day or as you end up your day in doing that. And some of the communication tools that we wanted to share with you. I mentioned the vision board with your top 10 goals. Maybe podcasts for meditation. There's a wealth of information now out there that you can do videos or YouTube around meditation coaching and guides that you can use. I encourage people to develop 5 to 10 positive statements that you make. Some people add that or tag that onto their vision board, but things that are affirmations that motivate you around your business. And you can change those up, once a quarter is what we recommend. But as you start your day, having that positive self-talk can be very powerful. Focus and discipline. There's, the books that we read now, while we have more time and we're available, is a great time to invest in preparing yourself and staying focused and avoiding procrastination, as we mentioned before, are some of the biggest challenges we all have. A great book by Rory Vaden called Take the Stairs. We take all of our coaching clients through this. It's a simple read. It was a New York Times bestseller the first year it came out, but I encourage you to just go on Amazon and buy that book. It's not an expensive book, but it's loaded with great ideas around how to keep your mind right, how to stay focused, and how to develop the discipline to be a top producer in your business. So when you think about establishing for yourself some guidelines or work rules, I mentioned earlier, being productive working from home actually is harder work and it takes more discipline. So think about getting up early, going to bed early. Most people, our natural tendency is to do the opposite because we don't have that structure of being at work. So stay up late and watch a movie and the late show and then sleep in the morning. There's nobody going to hold us accountable to that. Top producers, people that really want to be productive working from home, have to do this themselves. They have to make that decision. And I think working from home, you should probably get up even earlier than you do when you're working from the office. So don't be like the guy here on the top right who's getting ready to take a hammer to his alarm clock, at 6:15. Be like the lady there at the bottom that went to bed early, got up early, was ready to do her meditation or exercise, review her vision board, and just have a great productive day. And all of us can do that if we decide to. I want to share with you a really cool thing. You may want to check this out. This was from a Navy SEAL Admiral, William McCraven, and he has spoken at quite a few college commencements, and this is one that I'll share with you here. I think I've got a link to it around. Yes, you could check this out on his YouTube video. But what it really came down to is doing those small things, develop those habits of discipline, and how impactful that is on your execution, and having that small sense of pride. He talks about making your bed every day, which they do as Navy SEALs, and it's just one of those things that they don't have to do it. There's no reason other than just to be disciplined and organized about your day. But you may want to check that out. It's really a good message. And I think those are some of the things we're talking about is how we do prepare ourselves. When we think about exercising and eating healthy, those are really critical to having a productive day. So don't get caught in the trap of staying up late and overeating and then skipping out on your exercise. Develop that routine within your home office of how you're going to eat healthier. This exercise thing is a big challenge too, I think, for many of us, because we're naturally stuck behind a computer 8 hours a day or sometimes more. Some people are actually working more hours than they do when they work from their office because it's always there. And there's always so much to do. So one thing that I found works really well, I would say has been one of the best practice things that we've noticed, is to build in and schedule into your day 20 or 30-minute exercise blocks of time, and certainly start your day with that. I would suggest before 8 o'clock, but then as you start your day, have 2 or 3 of those during the day where maybe you've had phone calls for a couple of hours. Then put a 20-minute block of time in for exercise, and then get up and get out of the house and take a walk, do lift weights, do some exercise, but do that in the morning, and then build some in the midday and the afternoon, because that really will help keep your mind alert and also keep you healthier, and it's very important to do. One of the things too that I would share with you, I think, is a best practice around being productive from home, and it's not easy. I mean, it's one of those things that really takes discipline, but it's funny how effective it is. And I've tried to do this. I don't do it every day. I've got a lot of clients that are doing it as well, and that is dress for success. I mean, I've got some clients that I spoke to, one just last week, that's maybe one of the most extreme examples I know. I mean, he actually gets up in the morning early and goes through this routine we talked about. He actually leaves the house, goes through Starbucks, gets a coffee, and then comes back to his house to start his day. But it was just getting out of the house that was a real effective part of his routine. And he puts he dresses with a sport coat, and sometimes he puts a tie on, and he polishes his shoes, and he goes back and sits in his home office. But it's a discipline thing. You know, the lady on the left you see is still in her pajamas. You know, she's sitting at her makeup counter and trying to do a little work while she's having a facial. And then contrast that with the lady on the right, who has gotten up early, gotten dressed for success, and is going to be more mentally prepared and on her game. So it's just a natural thing we all go through. So you may want to try that, is to dress up for work instead of sitting there in your pajamas. I heard a funny one last week. Somebody was commenting on how you can lose weight during coronavirus, and they said just put your bathing suit on in the morning instead of putting your pajamas on when you get ready to get up in the morning. You know, that might help you. But it is a thing that really helps us if we dress for our regular work situation. Now let's talk about getting your work office set up. Part of the challenge we all have is many people have the wife and the husband who are both trying to work from home, and you've got 3 kids and 2 dogs in the house. I mean, that can really create some challenging situations as to, first of all, do you have the space to have a workstation set? You see the lady on the left is trying to sit on her couch in her pajamas with her son and a cup of coffee and be productive. That's very difficult to do. The guy on the right found a place, maybe down in the basement, got his private workstation set up, get it organized. And if you can, obviously get a room, a spare bedroom or something where you can have a door that can close. That can be a very effective way to set up your workstation. Another client of mine went down to a print shop and had some of these little do not disturb signs made, like you see in the hotel when you don't want to be disturbed. And he called his prospecting time his golden hour. So he had them printed up in gold, and he put do not disturb. And he talked to his wife and children about, it's real important certain times of the day that I have quiet and I don't get distracted. And when he puts that little golden hour do not disturb tag out, then they know to not interrupt him. You know, it's doing things like that help you stay focused and try to avoid distractions best you can. So let's think about eliminating clutter and distractions. I know when I first started looking at setting up an office in my basement, it took a while. We had workout equipment in the room, so I had to look at moving that out, and I had dog beds in the room, and we just have to think about that whole environment and trying to make it as productive as you can and eliminate distractions and clutter. Certainly setting up high-speed internet, making sure where in your house do you get your best connection. It might be in the basement, it might be up on the main floor, but paying attention to your internet connection, your cell phone reception, your printer, and then where you do set your office space up is important. Many people, like I mentioned, have the wife and the husband working out of the house, and so you may need to schedule your time where you're going to do your critical calls in the morning and your wife is going to do her critical calls in the afternoon, or vice versa, and that you've planned it that way so that each of you can have that private, quiet time where you can be productive. Setting up an efficient workspace, can be very helpful, with a desk or drafting table, filing cabinets, those kind of things that you may need. We've already talked about trying to stay away from family distractions. Putting movement into your workday, I think we touched on that earlier, with if you've scheduled little exercise break times during your day, then you're gonna be on track with that. Try to set up a way you can stand up and use the phone and computer. Many people are doing this now. I'll share with you here in a minute. I'll show you an example of one of those. And then your time to start work and time to end work. Again, try to be structured with that instead of just open-ended and you're working periodically all day long. And we touched on doing exercise before 7 in the morning. Here's a little workstation you may want to check out. Very inexpensive, from TheraDesk. You can just Google that, and it allows you to put your laptop or make notes while you're standing, so you can rotate that so you're not sitting all day. And pay attention to your technology, your sound, your camera, especially if you're doing a lot of video calls. Logitech is a good one. They've got a kit there. There's so many of these out there now, but do a trial call with a friend or someone, and check your sound and your systems to make sure that's working well. So many of these things we've touched on, but this kind of boils down to what we call our top 15 self-management strategies. Planning your week on Sunday evening. We recommend that you spend some time thinking about the customer calls, the key Zoom meetings, things that you need to do. Set focused goals for the week and try to stick to that schedule. Learning to say no to distractions is very important, and it's very hard to do. So that's some new discipline that you may need to do. And then blocking your time on your calendar for personal things as well as business functions that you need to have. And then finding a management system. Don't be like the lady we saw earlier with sticky notes all over her office, but try to find, whether it's electronic or manual, some system that works, and have one system so you're not trying to manage 2 or 3, and then stick to it. This is something during this time that you can really hone those time management skills. Read a book on time management. Get some ideas from your coworkers on what they use. This is something that we work a lot on in our coaching program. You can certainly do it yourself, but PDAs, or priority daily activity, is thinking about every day, what are the top 5 things that are the most important things today that I need to accomplish? And make sure that as you identify those, that you've got them locked into your calendar and that you've really focused on doing those. If you don't do anything else today, you've worked on these 5 things, and we call those priority daily activities. And so we've talked about taking small breaks and exercise. I think that's a key self-management strategy. Here's one that most people have never thought about. The number one biggest distraction that we all have and this is working from home or working from the office, is email. how do we manage email where it's not controlling me all day long? And there's a way that you can schedule time for doing email. You can put an automatic responder on your email that says, I'll be returning emails between 10 and 11 and between 4 and 5 today. If it's urgent, text me at this number. You'll find that if you're concerned about quick response service, this actually improves your ability to respond quickly to a customer that has something urgent. And then it gives you a block of time to work on your email each day where you can work on other things, proposals, or working on reading a book or doing other things that you need to be doing instead of all day long having multiple distractions from email. So that's another one that you may want to try. Sleeping well and eating well, we touched on that earlier. Overcoming fear, just having that mindset to take action, and then starting and ending your workday on schedule. Using your technology to communicate and holding yourself accountable to that. And also look at delegating what you can. A lot of people are outsourcing people to help set up appointments or help manage your schedule. And one last item is creating a time awareness log, and I'll share with you on the next slide what that can look like. You can just create this in a spreadsheet and put 30-minute intervals on your spreadsheet. And for 1 week, track this every day as to what you were doing during that 30 minutes. And then after 1 week, come back and look at that, maybe on a Saturday, spend a little time looking at it, and take a highlighter out and highlight everything that was a income producing activity, one of your real priority things that you know you should have been doing. And then step back and look at how much you did during the week that was not income producing activity, and call that a distraction. And then think about next week, how can I plan my week better? How can I say no to certain things so that I've got more things in yellow highlighted the next week that were really important income producing activity. So that's just an idea to use. That's one of those self-management things that can help you with your time. Okay, we touched about technology. I want to encourage you to make sure you've got updated software. We've talked about Zoom and Skype, GoToMeeting. Here's one that a lot of people have not paid attention to, and I think is really important. Update your LinkedIn profile and your Facebook profile, whatever social media platforms you use. But LinkedIn has certainly become, in our industry, probably one of the major communication tools. And don't have yourself, holding up a 10-pound bass on your LinkedIn profile. I mean, do that for Facebook, but make it professional. Have your message of your company and your service, because people check this out. And it's a great tool also for prospecting and connecting with customers. You'll find that busy people will connect with you on LinkedIn when they won't return your email or phone call. Okay, so let's see. And then web conference tips. I think we touched on many of these. Just see that you're diligent about having the right people on the call and recording your meetings when you can, so that you can refer back to those or share them with other people that weren't able to make the meeting. And Meeting Now is a new updated actually platform from Skype, which a lot of people are using successfully. WebEx is another one. There's many of these out here, but find the one that suits you the best and really learn how to perfect it and use it. And then decide during the day the best time to connect with your customers and to use the technology. All right. Well, with that, good luck on your productivity. I hope we shared a few things that were new ideas for you. Scott, is any questions that you had from the group?
No, nothing's come up, Steve. Thank you very much for that. And guys, look at the contact information in front of you. Steve, I'll just tell you, great information. Most of it to me is this old statement I used to use called common sense, not common practice. The reality is life changed, and because of it, we never changed our practices. We went back to the same old rut we had always lived in, and that makes it challenging. I will differ with Steve on one thing. If you catch a 10-pound bass, you put that anywhere you want to put it. Man, LinkedIn, Facebook. No, he's right. I've got to go back and change my profile pictures as well. That's great advice. A copy of this presentation, guys, will be available to you on the WSCA.org website. So please feel free to go there and access that. I know that he listed some books. He gave some links to you during the presentation. We want to make sure if you weren't able, I was taking notes throughout, but if you weren't able to do that, then oh, am I muted?
You're good.
Okay, good. Make sure that you've got go to that site and you can get a background on this information. Steve, again, thank you. Thank you to your team. And obviously, you've done this presentation many times. It's great information, well honed. And can we put that slide up one more time that shows how people can reach Steve and his team if they have questions, want to reach out to him, or would like to utilize their services? Steve, can you do that? Or Lewis, either one? Great.
There we go.
Fantastic. Just a moment. Again, this will be on the data that we have on our website, so you can go back to it there, but you don't want to wait that long. Take us just a little bit of time to download it. Here's information on how you can reach out to Steve. Steve is a friend of mine. He's a friend to the WFCA, to the FCEF, and certainly to our entire industry. Steve, thank you again. Hopefully we'll have a chance to do this again in the near future.
My pleasure, Scott. It's great to be with you.
All right. Appreciate you guys for being with us. By the way, we will be sending out a update very soon on the latest changes on the PPP information. I just got an email on it as Steve was speaking. So look for something either later this afternoon or first thing in the morning. And have a great rest of the week. We'll talk with you soon.